AITAH for not trying couples therapy with my ex because she gave my number to my brother? Story 1. When I 25M was 10, my mom passed away. My brothers were 19 and 23 at the time. None of my family members took me in, not even my brothers, and I hated them all for it. While in foster care, we had the occasional call once in a while, but I never enjoyed it. When I was 20, I still resented my family, so I just decided I needed a fresh start. I left and didn't tell anyone, nor did I maintain contact. I started dating my ex-fiancée 30F when I was 22. She knew I wasn't in contact with my family and that I was in foster care, but that's all she knew. My ex-fiancée is an only child, and sometime last year she started bringing up the idea of getting in touch with my family, specifically my brothers, because she doesn't want our future children to be deprived of a relationship with their uncles. I always made it clear that I wanted absolutely nothing to do with my family and that I'd appreciate it if she'd drop it. She dropped it for a while, or led me to believe she did, because 2 months ago, I got a text from an unknown number. It was my oldest brother. To keep this short, I blocked him, but not before finding out that my fiancée was the one who gave my number away. When I confronted her about it, she didn't deny it, and told me that she was only trying to help me get over a grudge, and kept pressuring me to give it a chance for her. I wasn't in the mood to argue, so I just broke up with on the spot. I had warned her before, and she deliberately went behind my back, and I didn't like that. She didn't react well to being broken up with, and was genuinely mad at me. She requested couples therapy because she didn't mean no harm, but I told her that I didn't really care, and that my decision was final. She moved out a couple of days ago, and her parents have told me that she has been crying nonstop and have started begging me to give her another chance. They told me that I shouldn't have broken up with her because she promised she wouldn't do it again, and she was genuinely trying to help me. Our advice: patience. You're definitely not the asshole here. Your feelings about your family and your decision to maintain distance from them are entirely valid, given the circumstances of your past. It's concerning that your ex-fiancée disregarded your boundaries and went behind your back to give your number to your brother. Trust is crucial in any relationship, and she violated that trust by not respecting your wishes. Couples therapy could potentially help navigate issues like this, but it's understandable that you're not inclined to pursue it given the breach of trust you've experienced. Ultimately, the decision to end the relationship was yours, and you have every right to prioritize your own well-being and boundaries. It's important to stick to your decision and not be swayed by guilt or pressure from her or her family. You deserve to be with someone who respects your boundaries and supports your decisions, especially regarding sensitive matters like your family relationships. Take care of yourself and focus on healing from this experience. First comment. DNTA, my fellow foster sibling. You're my sibling now, BDTTU. A handful have done this to me with my mother. None of them are in my life. Your boundaries are yours. And look, if there was more than the occasional phone call, maybe for you shit would be different. As you'd grow and get out, they weren't far from kids themselves, but they kept with me cause they are my brothers. They didn't. They F a kid off. And you don't have to forget anything else about it. So long as you don't let it hamper your forward march in life. I get the violation. What she did isn't something easily forgiven if it can be. And you absolutely have no need or requirement to forgive her now. She didn't trust you. She went behind your back. She gave someone access to you that abandoned you and has no F-king right to that access if they couldn't make a 20-min phone call once a fortnight at the least to make sure you're alive and well. You likely have who you need in your life, in the sense of family you've created, your home base and people that love you. That's what you need to be successful, and trust me, that's what you need for a kid, and you'll get there with the right woman. Mine is no worse off without my bio, but dude, she is absolutely F-king spoilt for love, care, and the sheer want for her to succeed in my built and chosen. You'll have this too. Second comment. Das NTA. But she loves you and did it out of misguided care. As a former foster kid myself, with a very different experience, people sometimes try to help in inappropriate ways. The thing is to figure out when it's worth putting in the work and when is it worth cutting your losses. One of the things that we who have been abandoned tend to do is cut our losses, numb out and shut down when someone has broken our trust without space for reconciliation when it might actually be worth it. You were ready to marry her and spend the rest of your life with her. She F-k'd up and made an error in judgment, and from the sounds of it, not one she would make again if you were willing to both put in the work. Think about the reasons you were ready to promise to grow old with her and see how the scales fall. Counseling sounds like it might be worth it if they tip on favor of the person that so recently you were willing to marry. I learned to lean into discomfort the hard way, by leaving a lot of people behind. It was a necessary part of survival from neglect and a use. The thing is, Sometimes we abandon ourselves first because of a vulnerability being exposed. Reddit will be quick to say NTA and stop at betrayal, without considering that relationships and trust of ourselves take work, even more so when we've been shown how cold the world can be. Story 2. My postpartum wife broke my late sister's watch. AITAH for considering divorce. My wife 30F and I 32M have been married for 6 years. My wife gave birth to a baby boy 4 months ago, and she was recently diagnosed with PPD and is currently on medication. These past few months, my wife has shown momentary bouts of anger where she lashes out. These bouts of anger are usually temporary, and even though they are extremely fierce, I understand it's a symptom of PPD and sympathize with what my wife's going through. A couple of days ago, I had gone out to get groceries, but I had forgotten to get onions, which my wife had repeatedly reminded me to get. I will admit it was my fault, and there were a lot of items to get. I should have probably written it down in a note, so as not to forget any item. When I came back home and my wife asked for onions, I apologized and said I had forgotten, and that I would drive back to the store to get them if she wanted me to. However, my wife completely lost her cool and started lashing out at me again. She was really angry and grabbed an item from the counter without looking at what the item was and threw it at the floor. However, I knew what the item was, but I was too late before my wife threw it on the floor and broke it. It was my late sister's watch. My sister passed away a couple of years ago of cancer, and it was the toughest thing I ever had to go through in my life. She gave me the watch as a memento to keep. I had gotten this watch for her on her birthday many years ago, but she got it engraved with our names. It meant a lot to me. So when my wife broke the watch and shattered it, I felt a bit numb. My wife immediately apologized multiple times and was sobbing really heavily. I told my wife it's not her fault and that it's all right because I wanted to calm her down. But I internally felt devastated. That was the moment where for the first time ever I questioned if I loved my wife anymore. I don't plan on doing anything drastic for the next few months because my wife is already going through PPD and I don't want to add additional stress on top of it. But after a year or so, I am seriously considering the possibility of a divorce because I really am not sure if I love my wife anymore. AITAH for considering divorce. Our advice. Firstly, I'm really sorry to hear about the difficult situation you're facing. It sounds like you've been incredibly patient and understanding towards your wife's struggles with postpartum depression PPD. PPD can be an extremely challenging time for both partners, and it's commendable that you've been supportive throughout. However, it's also understandable that the incident with your late sister's watch has deeply affected you. Losing a cherished item with such sentimental value is undoubtedly painful, especially considering the emotional significance attached to it. It's natural to feel hurt and even question your feelings in such circumstances. Considering divorce is a significant decision, especially in the context of your wife's PPD. It's crucial to prioritize both your well-being and your wife's mental health. Have you considered seeking couples therapy or individual counseling for both of you? Therapy could provide a safe space to explore your feelings, address any underlying issues, and work towards healing and reconciliation. It's essential to communicate openly and honestly with your wife about your feelings, but also to do so in a compassionate and understanding manner, considering her current state. Expressing your emotions and concerns can help foster understanding and potentially strengthen your relationship. Ultimately, whether or not you proceed with divorce is a deeply personal decision that only you can make. However, I'd encourage you to explore all available options before making a final choice, especially given the complexities of PPD and the potential impact it may have on your wife and family. Remember, seeking support from friends, family, or a therapist can be incredibly beneficial during this challenging time. Take care of yourself, and don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need it. First comment. If your wife is going through bursts of uncontrollable anger, it means her medication is not working. I very strongly advise getting her back to her obstetrician or to the PPD unit at the hospital where she gave birth to get her reassessed and to get her meds changed and possibly even look at an inpatient stay. I know that sounds scary, but they will allow her to bring the baby if she's still breastfeeding because that's better for the baby and for her. There are a lot of very ignorant posts on your app from people who really don't understand PPD at all. Under the old McNaughton rules for insanity, childbirth was one of the vanishingly rare exceptions made to the usually unavailable plea of temporary insanity, because it goes away once a woman's hormones have stabilized. My advice is to get her back to the hospital or her obstetrician like tomorrow. And please don't blow up your marriage over something that will pass. A second comment. Below. NTA, it's understandable why this was excruciating to you. And it sounds like the way you handled it both with your wife and in not making any immediate decisions shows a lot of care and maturity. I agree with other commenters that you should seek individual therapy for yourself now, and also consider a support group therapy around grief or for partners of parents with PPD, or both. Both situations are enough for anyone to struggle with, and having compromised sleep at CC from having a newborn can make situations even harder to cope with for you as well. You deserve support also now, even if you intend to divorce her later on. However, I do think that you also should ask your wife to call her doctor who is prescribing the medication about these rage incidents and to raise the question to her provider of if she may need a higher level of care, like a day program, also known as a partial hospitalization program, to have the treatment she needs to get back on track for your whole family's well-being. And that at a minimum, if she is not going to be doing any intensive treatment program, that she may need more frequent medication management appointments, and to ask that she also begin seeing a therapist to gain more coping skills and have more support navigating this difficult time for her as well too. AC, I'm so sorry for your loss, and sorry also for the watch being broken.